Hello and welcome to NDTV Profit. I am Agam Vakil and you are watching the IPO special. Well, we have Hyundai where the IPO opened for subscription today, and it's going to be a really interesting one because it's one of the largest IPOs that we've had for the year and for a while as well. But I'm going to say no more and, well, get my colleague Puneet in to fill us in on all the details that we need to know about Hyundai. Puneet, over to you.
Well, thanks for that. So, it's going to be, as you rightly said, one of the biggest IPOs. Roughly 27,000 crores is what the company is looking to raise from this particular IPO. Now, that said, the company has announced a price band of about 1,865 to 1,960 rupees per share. Now, that indicates, that the market, that you can bid for about 7 shares in one particular allotment. And the total shares will be, the IPO opens between October 15th and 17th, while, they're willing to offer roughly about 14 crore shares in this particular IPO, and it's a completely offer for sale. No fresh issue in this particular IPO. Now, when you look at, the key numbers, based on the number of shares that the company is offering, which is 14 crore, as well as the highest price band of 1960, the indicative market cap of the company could be around 1.58 lakh crores. And the anchor portion of this will be around 4.24 crore shares. So the anchor book is going to be around 8,000 odd crores, which is a sizable number because it's going to be one of the biggest IPOs as well. But currently, 35% will be allocated for the retail book, while 50% will be for QIB and 15% for the NII ownership as well. I just want to quickly highlight a few numbers specifically for Hyundai. We've seen a strong sales growth for the company over the last couple of years, and that's reflected in the growth as well. For 7.77 lakh units it's sold, up about 5 to 6% from the last year levels. But for Q1 as well, it's grown by about 5% in Q1 versus just 1 to 2% growth for Maruti as well as Tata Motors. And the export piece is also another key thing that, for FY24, roughly 24% or roughly 1.6 lakh units is what it exported out of the market. And that's reflected in the high margins for the company as well. So if we move on and look at the financial picture of the company, that's reflected in the strong margins as well. Roughly about 13% of EBITDA it did in FY24, and that's also because of the export picture versus 12.5. While for Q1 specifically, it's even higher, roughly about 150 basis points compared to the last year to 13.5%. When you do a small comparison with Maruti, just to round off this discussion, when you look at Maruti is roughly 3 times the sales of Hyundai Motor Corp, but when you look at the revenue is also double of that, but margin is where the mainstay difference is, and that's because of the higher premium SUV models as well as the export picture that we spoke about. So 13.1% for someone like a Hyundai, and Maruti is getting it ahead in this particular with new launches in SUV as well, but that's one of the key things to watch out for. So overall, really strong IPO that's coming in the market next week.
Sure.
Do watch out for this one.
Thanks so much for that, Puneet. But my colleague Sajid also spoke to the management of Hyundai India, and this is what they had to say about, well, how the proceeds could pan out and a lot more. Listen in.
India is one of the most exciting auto market in the world, and the HMI has been successful for more than 26 years, and currently is the second largest passenger vehicle OEM in India. We believe it is the right time for us to take a step forward to further Indianize our operation, and we become a home brand, more the trust brand in India. IPO will ensure that the HMI is even more dedicated to the success in India, and we are continue to pursuing the global standard and practices in terms of governance. Additionally, IPO will provide opportunity for local and the global investors to take part in our growth story.
Mm-hmm. HM Group, the Hyundai Motor Group, has a large presence in India with respect to supply chain, your subsidiaries, dealership, supplying to dealership and others. What would be the role of HM Group once you list in India?
So we have a very strong parentage. I think that has been a huge strength of Hyundai because we have access to all kinds of technologies. If you see today, because R&D capabilities of Hyundai Motor Group are well known, so whether it is petrol, diesel, CNG, hybrids, strong hybrids, plug-in hybrids, EV, even hydrogen. I think that gives us a huge technology agnosticity even going forward. In terms of manufacturing or in terms of quality management as well, it's a huge advantage. Of course, the Hyundai brand itself is a huge advantage, the supply chain. So I think one thing which differentiates Hyundai from some of the peers is, one, access to the export markets, because we are exporting to 80 plus countries, because HMG Group is present in 190 plus countries globally. So I think this is a huge advantage, and going forward as well, we believe the access to these technologies will help us to really introduce new and new features and new models to the Indian market, and always help us in staying ahead of the curve.
Mr. Kim, you've been able to increase the localized content to nearly 81% now. What is the game plan? How do you want to take it to completely local, made in India, including technologies that can be made and developed in India?
In terms of localization, the HMI has around 200 tier 1 suppliers with a good combination of the local and the global supplier. Currently, our localization rate is around 80%. HMI has strongly focused on the full localization as possible as we can. Localization is very crucial for us for cost competitiveness and securing the supply chain from some geopolitical disruptions.
Mr. Garg, I'm looking at your valuation, and because you're coming to the IPO, so I have to look at peer valuations as well. You're fairly priced as compared to your nearest competitor, which is Maruti. My question is that, this market is very profit-driven market. The IPO market, investors are very savvy on profits. Do you think you have left enough on the table for them?
So if you see, we have always believed in quality of growth and really looking at not only the volumes, but also capacity utilization, also EBITDA margins. If you see, even financial year 24, on a turnover of close to 70,000 crores, we have an EBITDA margin of 13% plus, which is very good. And it has been helped by premiumization, our strong SUV mix, which is now almost 68%, our huge cost optimization efforts. Going forward, of course, new plant capacity is coming up in Pune, which will add a further 170,000 in phase 1 and 80,000 in phase 2. So I think our direction is very clear that we want to really grow sustainably and grow profitably, and and that should really help us, and everybody else also, because we have always believed in shareholder value right from the time we have set foot in India, and we believe these kind of strategies will hold us in good stead in the long run as well.
You spoke about EBITDA. The EBITDA has been growing from FY24, and when I saw the Q1, it's even higher in Q on 13.6%. Do you see enough headroom for your EBITDA to grow now, and what will be the levers for that?
Look, it's always very difficult to give a forward guidance, but what I can say is, as long as the strategy and the direction is right, I think all other things take care of themselves. So like I said, we will continue to see more opportunities, of course, whether it is the more SUVization, more premiumization, more cost optimization, more localization, of course the new capacity is coming in, looking for opportunities in exports as well. So I think all these directions should help us to stay healthy, and that is what I can say at this moment.
Mr. Kim, we spoke about exports to more than 80 countries. What kind of opportunity that it throws up for you, especially because you've been exporting for a long time and one of the largest exporters of passenger cars from the country? What kind of opportunities are there for you in that?
Our parent company, HMC, has a strong overseas sales network across more than 190 countries. We are positioning HMI as a production hub for emerging markets like the Middle East and Africa, South Asia, and Central and South America. Our product line is very suitable for emerging market. We are manufacturing and exporting more than 80 countries. So also we have a very good balance mix of the domestic and export, which is not only give us the profit, but also it gives us some natural hedge against the market fluctuation.
The passenger car market has now tilted to SUVs actually. Means you don't see sedans selling enough in this market. How do you see the SUV market evolving? And I'm asking in context that you already have a group company, Kia, which is also as successful in India, which is there in SUVs. So how do you manage that competition? Within the group, actually.
So if you see, look, one reason for success of HMI in India has been our ability to spot the trends. When we launched the Creta in 2015, the SUV contribution was only 13%.
True.
Who would have thought that a car like Creta can sell 15,000 vehicles a month? But we were able to do it. Today, if you see our SUV contribution, in fact, January to September period has already reached 68%,
right.
much higher than the industry average of 52%. In fact, in September, it reached 70%. For the month of September. So you can see that there is still some upside. We launched the Exter last year, which really had a very good response. We had 6 airbags as standard, which has really helped us to really touch the heart and the mind of the customers. So we believe that there is still upside to it. At the same time, we don't want to be only a 100% SUV player. We are very strong in the sedan space as well. We have the Aura and the Venue. We have in the hatch segment, we have the Nios, the i20. So we are a complete player with different kind of powertrain as well. In a country as big as India, one solution will not work. So at the entry level, we are offering the customer petrol and CNG. And you can see the penetration in models like Aura of CNG has reached 85%. In the SUV segment, we offer the customers petrol and diesel. In the Verna segment, we offer the customers petrol and turbo. And of course, we have an Ioniq 5 as an EV. So I think this kind of different kind of powertrains to different kind of geographies, because Indian geographies also behave very differently. Like somewhere in UP, CNG is very, very popular. Whereas in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Punjab, diesel is very popular. In Delhi, petrol is very popular. So different powertrains, different segments help us to really, really grow. SUV segment, I think, like I said, we have always been very, very bullish on the SUV segment, and going forward also we'll see what kind of opportunities exist. Of course, competition is always there, Indian markets has always had competition, but we believe as long as we are able to identify trends, as long as we are able to give new features, new technology, I think we can always get the love and affection of the customers.
And that's reflecting in the demand for your vehicles. But what I saw in the RHP is that your capacity utilizations are almost peaking across Chennai 1 and Chennai 2. How do you plan to expand that? You said Talegaon is going to come in, but that's going to come in by FY26. So how do you plan to increase your capacity and cater to that demand?
That's a very important question. And if you see, currently we have a capacity of about 824,000. The Talegaon phase 1 of 170,000 will come in H2 of calendar 25. So you can very clearly see we are almost there, and that will really give us the necessary impetus to reach a capacity of 994. And then in 28, we are further adding the capacity by 80,000. So we'll almost be 1.07 million by 28, which is almost 30% addition in capacity. So I think we are well placed. And then, of course, we will see, every year we do an evaluation that, what is required to be done, and that we will do in the future as well.
Mr. Kim, the revenue mix. 23% is coming from exports, if I'm not wrong. Will that remain going forward, or you expect that exports to play a significant role going forward?
Currently, we are 20% for export, 80% for domestic, but it depends on some our overseas countries' economic situation. But we are maintaining and improving. We are increasing both domestic and export volumes.
And do you see the demand for the vehicles? Like in India, we have a very dynamic situation of passenger car growth. How do you see the passenger car growth in various countries and emerging countries where you supply, whether it's Middle East or Europe or Latin America?
Look, if you see the Indian market, the CAGR, 5-year and 10-year CAGR is hovering around 5%. Of course, sometimes the growth happens 22% like last year, or last year also more than 8%. So those kind of ups and downs will happen, but India is definitely going stronger. If you see the Middle East, the economies, the preferences are similar, and that is what helps us. Of course, some kind of geopolitical situations will keep on changing. But like MD mentioned, the important thing is that this kind of a healthy mix gives us those levers to really, change our strategy based on the demand and based on the macroeconomic and geopolitical indicators in those countries.
I have two more questions. One would be on your dividend policy, because we just saw in Q1 you paid more than 10,000 crores in dividend to the parent. what kind of dividend policy can the investors expect from the company?
So if you see right from the time, we have always been, paying dividend, because so we have been a very good, healthy practices. Going forward, of course, depending on the capex, the cash flow, the profitability, once the financial year 25 is complete, we will be announcing the dividend policy, and of course we'll keep in mind industry best practices and to see those so that the investors get a decent return for their money.
What is the kind of capex that you're looking at in over the next 2 to 3 years?
So if you see the capex, one is of course for the Talegaon plant, where we have committed a capex of 6,000 crores. In Tamil Nadu, we have committed a capex of 26,000 crores for the next 8 to 10 years. So total of about 32,000 crore capex over the next 8 to 10 years.
And all will be from internal accruals?
Yeah, we believe that yes, we are generating enough capital and enough profits to take care of the capex concerns, going forward.
The big talk is about electric vehicles. What is your electric vehicle policy? Because you have a couple of cars in that segment, and I think one of the first to get electric vehicle as well, if I'm not wrong. How do you plan to evolve the EV ecosystem for your company?
Yes, India is the early stage of the electrification. We see the EV is expected to grow strongly by 2030, led by government strong initiative and many OEMs EV focus. The HMI has strong access to the HMC's EV and battery technologies, so we are developing an EV ecosystem in India. We are planning to launch 4 EV models across the mass and the premium segment, including our Creta EV in the Q4 this financial year. And also we are localized the EV supply chain, like the battery pack, drivetrain, and the battery cell, etc. Also, we are investing EV charging infrastructure as well.
So, how much of investment will go into EV as a whole?
So specifically, it is difficult.
Of the
but like I said,
you
with the Tamil
mentioned?
Nadu government, we have made a commitment of MOU of 26,000 crores. So it includes the investment in the EV ecosystem as well.
You also have a PLI, if I'm not wrong, for EV.
So yeah, so we'll strive to see that we meet the PLI going forward. We'll strive. All the efforts will be there to try and meet the PLI.
So final question, Mr. King spoke about Creta EV coming in Q4. Which are the other models that we expect from Hyundai in FY25?
Look, this year has been an exciting year, calendar 24. We started with Creta facelift, which has received a great response, the Creta N-Line as well. Then last month we launched the Alcazar, again some very, very good response from the customers. So we have always excited the market. We have already announced in the DRHP about Creta EV and 3 more EVs in the mass and the mass premium segment going forward. So you'll continue to hear from us. It would not be prudent to really disclose all the future models, because some level of excitement should always remain in the market.
Let me quiz you a little more. When you say mass, is it going to be entry level for EV?
So I would say that you will see a very assertive approach from Hyundai in the EV space, backed by a very strong localization and the entire ecosystem.
All right, well, that's the management of Hyundai India telling us about, the plans in store. Of course, the company is looking to raise nearly 28,000 crores on the upper band of its IPO. And, we're pegging the market cap to be somewhere around the region of 1.6 lakh crore rupees. But, let's get in an expert opinion here as well. We now have Avinash Gorakshakar, the Director of Research at Profitmart Securities, who's joining us on the show. Avinash, thanks for taking the time out. Good afternoon to you. How are you assessing the Hyundai IPO, and are you recommending this to your clients as well?
Yeah, good afternoon, Agam. I think Hyundai IPO is definitely a promising offer if you look at the long-term growth trajectory in the passenger car market. I think one thing which is very exciting is that this company has been managing its financials pretty well. It's got a market leadership in Korea, and I think now with the public issue, you're going to see a lot of excitement for this company. I remember quite a time back when the Maruti issue was initially launched. That time, that is the kind of excitement which I think investors have for this company. And I don't disbelieve that these valuations of 26 times on the on the capital which the company is raising, I think definitely looks attractive over the next say 1 to 2 years. In terms of financials, Agam, if you look at the numbers, they're roughly about 70,000 crores plus of revenue, 6,000 crores of profit. The last 3 to 4 years, they've been consistently generating operating cash flows, that is positive operating cash flows. And I think in terms of the product development, I think which I heard from the interview now on your channel, I would not be surprised that a lot of excitement is going to come in once these new vehicles are going to be launched, both in the ICE as well as in the electric vehicle segment. So I think we have been advising our clients to apply in this issue, especially retail should be able to get a better kind of slice out of this IPO because it's a large IPO. And I think investors should not miss it. I think in terms of not only the pricing, that is the listing gains, but over the longer term, I think a lot of wealth creation is possible. I think you need to give in some time, of course, for this company to deliver. And I think it should be because they are a large profitable enterprise, an ROC of 28%, an ROE of almost 24, 25%. So numbers look pretty attractive. And with the kind of dominance in the market, Indian market, a very strong brand, and most importantly, a very strong supplier chain, maintained by the company, I think the going forward is also going to be equally promising.
Right. Well, at least my team has done and run a couple of checks and calculations, and we are actually talking about the price to earnings valuation. And if you take that on a trailing basis, Hyundai and Maruti Suzuki, that's its closest competitor. Hyundai at the moment is a number 2 player, and Maruti is a number 1 player. The price to earnings ratio, there is actually hardly any difference between the two. Growth rates, again, it tends to vary, but largely I would reckon that it is more or less in line. But Avinash, the one area that everyone seems to be talking about, and the reason why we've seen the auto sector do well is SUVs. Perhaps a complaint that investors may have when it comes to Hyundai is that they only have Creta, and even though that actually contributes to as much as 30% of its revenues going forward, a lot can be done in this area as well. Your assessment here?
No, I think Agam, you're right in pointing out that the Creta is a very large source of revenue for the company, and its dependence is pretty high. So I think going forward, my sense is the management obviously will have to overthink in this strategy of getting a much more diversified and a large bouquet of products in the SUV segment. And I think in terms of the product capability, in terms of the product support, technical support from the parent, I would not be surprised that over the next 1 to 2 years, this vacuum which is created as of now will definitely get completely filled up. So I think in the near term, yes, there could be a little bit of worry that over dependence on one model. But I think the Creta model has been doing remarkably well. It's been a very strong success in the Indian market. My sense is that you'll have to wait for some more time. But otherwise, if you look at the comparison of Maruti and you compare Hyundai, I think Maruti is at least twice as big as Hyundai in terms of profit. They were about 13,500 or 14,000 crores. The PAT for Hyundai is about 6,000 crores. In terms of the net worth also, if you look at Hyundai, I think Hyundai is still a small player, second player to Maruti. But I think in terms of the growth prospects, investors are not going to get many choices like these coming again and again. There are very few auto companies of this stature which could go public. And I think investors should look at this as a long-term opportunity. In fact, most of the larger funds, whom we have been talking, they have been also been waiting for this IPO for a long time because it helps them diversify their risk and obviously broaden their portfolios by including companies of this size. So this would be a favorite from not only the retail but even from the institutional players also.
Final question there, Avinash, and this is naturally is going to be on the EV space because that's where everyone is pivoting towards. Of course, you must have also heard the management talk about their plans with respect to the Creta EV, and more importantly, they've also gone ahead and made several spaces for something like an Ioniq or Kona, for that matter, as well in India. What is your opinion? How are you looking at this particular space develop?
No, I think, see, clearly the management has reiterated their stance that electric vehicle is a very big opportunity. And I think they would obviously increase their portfolio of the electric vehicle segment in their product portfolio in the very near term. I think it's difficult to say which segments they will cater, but I think the markets are clearly aware that with the kind of product support, with the kind of product technology which they can access from the parent, I think electric vehicle is one segment which Hyundai will not ignore. And I think over the next 2 years, Agam, you're going to see a lot of excitement from Hyundai in this segment. I think they have also realized that electric vehicle is one segment where they need to make a little more conscious efforts in launching a lot of new products. And I think that definitely is on the table. So I think you'll have to wait for some time, but otherwise we are quite positive on the fact that EV also is going to be a segment which is going to be aggressively hit upon by the company.
Right, Avinash, thank you so much for joining us and taking us through your views and opinions on the largest IPO that we have so far. That's Hyundai IPO. Of course, we will be watching out for the several factors that you have spoken about. With that, it's also a wrap on this show, but lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.